What is up, survivors? We are back with another Arc 101 on Genesis Part 2. If you're anything like me and you started out playing on this map, this whole nighttime drops asteroid belt thing can be a little daunting, so I took a little bit of time, did a little bit of research, made a short little video so you guys can see this. Of course, there's a couple of these floating around, but I think at the end of the video I had a little secret that I don't think a lot of people are using, so stick around for that one. The long and short of it is that every game day, when the day turns night, the ship will go into this crazy asteroid move. The ship will go into this movement of relocating to another planet. You'll get some cool effects and cool colors and even some sound effects to let you know it's going to happen. And at the start of the next day, you end up with new resources out here in the belt. That's pretty much how it is. The way to tell what asteroids are going to be showing up is by paying attention to the drops that are dropping around in the area when the day happens. So we'll get into that. Each day has a color code, and that color code will mean that a certain resource is going to be in here. We'll get on the list of what means what. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so if we're seeing the cyan color drops out here, you'll see these, they'll always be the same color all the way across the map, just like all these are. All the drops on this day are all going to be cyan everywhere you go. So let's go out and back into the asteroid belt and see what kind of resource is sitting out there. Alright, so during the cyan time period, what you'll see on some of these flat asteroids is you're going to just see obsidian, metal, and just rock scattered around. But really what we're looking for is these guys here. You'll see these little clumps of element dust that you can harvest by hand, or you can pick them up with a mining laser, however you want to do it. Those are kind of pretty much your only options. Obviously, if you have this tech strider with the excavator rig mounted on top of it, that makes it really useful. As you'll notice, some of these rocks, some of these flat surfaces have more resources than others. I've noticed, like, it doesn't necessarily behoove you to just go to one of these, maybe take a peek around. Like I said, there's definitely more like obsidian, stone, and metal on some of these rocks, but what I've noticed is if it's like that on one side, the other side tends to have more of whatever the rare resource is. Like, we start to get over here, we start to see more element dust scattered throughout these asteroids as well. So, cyan, element dust, metal, obsidian, obviously stone. You're pretty much going to see metal just about every time that you're out here. Obsidian, not all the time, but it's pretty common. But the name of the game resource for the cyan drops is going to be element dust. Alright, so around 2400, around midnight, you're going to see this start to happen outside in the asteroid belt. You're going to see this change. Basically, this is the ship changing locations during this time. Nothing's going to spawn out here. You'll still see animals. You can still run around out here. It's not going to hurt you at all, but there's literally not going to be anything out here. And this is typically during a few hours at night. During out in the normal area, we'll record one of the indicators out there so you can tell too. You'll see a distinct change in the sky and then some noise that kind of lets you know that the nighttime is cycling over. And basically we just hang out here and wait till daytime again and see what we get. But what we're actually going to do is go out in the evening time just to kind of show you what the sky looks like. And this is what the sky looks like. You'll see these what look like engines running, and then the whole sky like it's traveling at a high speed. And then obviously it's nighttime out here, but we'll wait till daytime, see what the next drop color is, and then go check out what's in the belt. Alright, so this time the drop of choice is green, and again, it doesn't matter what side of the biomes that you're currently on, all the drops on either side, everywhere, are all going to be this color, green. Now we're going to go back into the asteroid belt and show you what color resource is tied to that one. It kind of, man, I don't really, typically we're kind of geared to play that a certain color means a certain quality means a better thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that in here. You kind of have to throw that logic out the window when it comes to the drops. I mean, even the quality of what's in the drops in and of themselves, I've noticed, is really not what you would expect it to be. So kind of throw the color sequence that we're used to seeing out the window. As we can see, coming out here to check out what's here, this should be crystal. Yep, this is crystal. So you're going to see crystal out here. You're still going to see metal nodes. I think some of the rocks will still have obsidian, just not very many of them. Predominantly, that's what you're looking for, or what you're going to find anyway. So green drops mean crystal deposits that are out here. I'm going to kind of go over this way. I don't actually know what, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe there's not obsidian out here. There's a guaranteed metal and crystal out here. I don't know about obsidian on this one. I think this might be one of the few that doesn't have it, but yeah. So we got metal, we got crystal, and that's pretty much it. Harvesting the same way, obviously. Crystal harvesting doesn't really change. Some of these rock formations you'll notice are more littered with metal nodes than other ones are, and that is pretty much it. So Let's go back. We'll switch the days, check the next day, and go through the next resource. And again, out here in Eden Zone, you'll see the engine start to click up, and we'll hear a noise. Point. That should let us know that the nighttime is coming and that the area is about to cycle. My only worry outside being out in the asteroid field when the days are changing is the asteroids seem to be, depending on the resource, always seem to be in the same spot. And if you're there when the rock shows up, like literally when it shows up, I'm guessing that could cause some issues. So I try not to stay out there when this warp is going on specifically for that reason. At least not anywhere in the open. If you're out on the very edges of the biome, you're probably fine. Alright, we are sitting on purple this time around. Purple drops, again, they're going to be in every biome, always going to be purple. So let's slink back over to the asteroid belt and see what we got inside of it. Purple is definitely going to be one of the well sought after with the resource spawns. Purple means that there's element shard out here in abundance, and I mean a lot. There you are not going to be running short of element at any point in time when drops at purple. So element shard is going to be littered all over these asteroids, and you can harvest this again with a mining laser, the pickaxe, animals that can harvest it, same deal. And they are littered obviously everywhere that we're seeing out here. They're going to be covered with them. I would highly advise, again, when you're harvesting stuff out here, get yourself a strider. Even if it's just enough missions just to get a strider with an excavation rig is going to be amazing for doing this stuff for you. It's going to save you so much time, and it's going to harvest so much. So metal and element shard during purple drop times. Something to note before we check the next one, not only is element shard going to be out there in space, but you'll also pick up element here and there off of the element nodes as well. So you'll get full-blown element a little bit, but then you'll get a lot of element shard. Next up is orange drops, and let's flip back over into the asteroid belt and see what shows up in the orange drops. During the all orange drop sessions, you're going to see a lot of metal and obsidian on some of these asteroids, but predominantly what we're looking for is black pearls. The indication will be like these, obviously these pearls, giant pearls attached to the asteroids themselves. I've noticed that, and I think I am on the south side of this. On the south end of this, these don't seem to populate as well. I don't see a whole lot of them over here. And let's head back to the north side, because I think that's what's going on. I've noticed, like I said, I've noticed it seems like one side has more general resources than other sides do sometimes. So it definitely plays to your benefits of actually like legitimately running around and searching a couple of these asteroids on either side to see which side has more of the resources for you to grab. There we go. So your black pearl deposits will look just like this. They're actually kind of hard to miss if you're really far away, but up close they just look like pearls. You can just pick them up off the ground. You'll get black pearls. Every now and then you'll get a little bit of mutagel out of this as well. But that's pretty much it. That's what we're looking at. So this one's, again, just going to be black pearls for the most part. Black pearls, metal, and obsidian. Again, highly recommend getting a strider out here, but anything that can harvest these things by hand, you can use a mining laser. I would highly advise a mining laser. You can use them by hand, or you can even use a whip to grab it too if you want to go that route. Alrighty, and on the other side in Rockwell's garden, if you notice the engine looks a little bit different on this side, and I think it's just because of the atmosphere, like the general feel of the atmosphere over here. It's more of a blue instead of an orange light going on. But anyhow, there we go. Engine light kicking on, and we'll wait till daytime to see what we get. And as you can see, the next day that popped up was Cyan. These days are not necessarily in order. It's randomly generated. So even though you just saw Cyan 4 days ago at this point, doesn't mean that we're not going to see it again relatively soon. So we're going to hang out until we get a new one. We'll show you what it does. All right, next up we got a new one, and those are blue that are showing up. So let's go back into the asteroid belt and see what's showing up. All right, so during blue drops, you're going to see this like sandy, deserty looking asteroids out here, and you get exactly what you would think. Sulfur. There's sulfur out here. There's still metal out here. There is still obsidian out here, but predominantly sulfur is the reason why you're coming out here. There's going to be sulfur rocks all over the place. You'll be able to pick all that stuff up. Like I said, metal, obsidian will be out here like normal, but predominantly sulfur is what you're going to find during blue drops. Same sort of harvesting. None of the harvesting really changes at all. You're still going to harvest it the same way you normally would, with the exception of if you have a tech strider. I would highly advise using a strider. Anyway, we'll go out and check for a next one and see what we get. All right, one of the other color supply drops we're going to see out here is red. Something to talk about the supply drops, by the way, they don't always drop in the same spot. They're completely random, and sometimes you're going to see them dropped in like rocks and stuff like this. They're not, and a lot of other maps you always kind of guessed or generally knew where the drop was always going to come in. It might be a different color, but it always came in the same spot. Not the way with this map. These things are going to be all over the place. So red drop, and then let's go over to the space and see what we get. All right, during red drop time, you are going to see an abundance of oil nodes out here on these rocks. You'll see that oil slick sort of look on all these rocks to give a dead giveaway as far as what's going on here. Oil rocks in abundance everywhere. Side note, these little green crystal things don't really do anything. You see them on a bunch of different asteroids out here during different times. They never do anything. You can actually, they don't actually like do anything. You can't harvest them. They just kind of hang out. Anywho, you're still going to see metal out here. You're gonna, obviously stone is going to be a byproduct of just about any time you're out here, but metal and oil is the name of the game during these times. Lots and lots of oil. As you can see, some of these are going to be more crowded with metal. So even if you're coming out here just to harvest for resources in general, just about any time out here, you can come out here and get a lot of metal. And the area is a little bit safer than you might think. Not a whole lot of threats out here with the exception of the void worm, which there's not a whole lot of them that spawn out here at one time, it doesn't seem like. Anywho, back to the next drop. Alrighty, so during the gold, or yellow, gold, whatever you want to call it, or yellow, I guess. It's probably yellow. Let's go with yellow. Yellow is going to be obsidian. You're going to see obsidian. You're going to see metal nodes out here as well. But the other thing that you're going to see scattered around, and I'm going to get down here so you guys can see, is the gems from aberration. You're going to see the green, red, and blue gems just floating around that you can pick up by hand. Again, you can use things like the mining laser or like the whip or things to pick it up like that. But that's predominantly what's going to be happening here. The 3 gems from aberration, the red, green, blue gems. Obsidian is going to be plentiful out here. Also metal. And that's pretty much it. We got one more to talk about, and that's probably the one that's most sought after. So let's go see what we get next. Alrighty, so when you get white drops, that's how we're really going to get mutagen. If you're looking for a really good source of mutagen, you come out here during white drop time. You can harvest these guys with a pickaxe. They'll give you ambergris, a little bit of mutagel, and obviously there's metal nodes out here as well. As far as efficiency of harvesting a lot of this stuff, I would still advise a strider, a tech strider with an excavator rig is your best bet. It's slow in lumbering, and getting it out here can be a pain in the butt, but even a very low level one can be leveled in nothing but weight and charge capacity and bring it out of here and harvest all to your heart's content. Now obviously you can use a mining laser, you can use a pick, you can use an anklo, you can come out here with a mantis with picks attached to it. There's many different ways you can come out and harvest this stuff, but honestly the easiest, most efficient way that I've seen, having tested a bunch of this stuff out, if you're looking for this or honestly harvesting anything out here, is a tech strider with an excavator rig. That's the one I would recommend. So those are all of the different times of day and different drops that you're going to see out here. And again, I can't stress enough that these things aren't in any specific order. So you really just want to pay attention to the color of drops that are showing up. That's going to be a dead giveaway of what's going to be out here and what's not going to be out here. Alternatively, when it shows up at night, you could plan ahead, so whenever it becomes daytime on your server, to be down here in one of these trenches as soon as it kicks over, and that way you'll know exactly what it is when you're out here. And as long as you kind of get familiar with the look of the asteroid, you're going to know exactly what it is when you come out here. Pretty cut and dry. Now, as far as harvesting some of the stuff that's out here, now I would say obviously the right resource harvesting dyno is important, but there's another thing to pay attention to that I don't necessarily see a lot of people talking about, and that is the missions. So there are a few missions out here that are going to save your butt, and predominantly when you're harvesting stuff in general. So the ones to pay attention to are the Star Wing Strike. So the Star Wing Strike is where you take it's the race mission where you're riding the little Astro Dolphin and you're racing him through the corridors, blowing stuff up, going through rings while you're doing it. This race, because the reward is the resource amount increase within the asteroid belt, so the quantity of resources naturally gets higher. And then the other one to pay attention to is the it's the slipstream sweep. This is the one where you take the hover skiff and you're rolling the hover sail through another race. These races can be kind of be daunting a little bit if you're not used to it, but honestly, take some time and practice these missions in your downtime. And if you're able to do this, what you can very well do is when so morning comes, you see the drop color that you know you need to get in there and harvest a bulk of, regardless of which one it actually is. you hit these 2 missions up. Go to the nearest mission terminal, hit these 2 missions up. If you've been practicing on these races, you can at least get the beta 1 done. Even just the gamma, something to give you a little bit of a leg up. But if you practice enough and you can manage to get the alphas on both ends of this, what will happen is not only will there be more resources out here to harvest, but then they'll replenish faster as well. So this is good for both single player or on a server with other people. If it's by yourself, you're not meandering around from asteroid to asteroid. You can stick around a couple of them because they're going to respawn fairly quickly, even on official settings. On a server that's pretty populated with a lot of people on it, this means that if you're doing that, maybe not necessarily everybody's fighting for resources because it replenishes and there's more abundantly there, which might make things a little bit less stressful when you're out here trying to harvest with a crowded server or whatnot. But I would highly recommend checking those missions out and doing those missions when it becomes available, as soon as the resource comes out that you want. I would highly recommend that. Can't stress that one enough. I've been doing this a lot lately, especially harvesting mutagel, and this is one of the best ways to go about it, I think. Hit both of these missions up, come out here and harvest to your heart's content for the day long, for the game day anyway, and then you get considerably more. I've tested this theory both by coming out here and doing it without the races and with doing the races, and I definitely get more. It's definitely helpful. And the race missions, so there's nothing to risk even if you lose the race mission, so I would definitely say test them out, get good at them, practice them, and use them. But that is pretty much it, guys. That is a guide to how the space works and how the asteroid belt works and the different types of resources you're going to find during different days. Again, I can't stress also, these things are not in any specific order. Just because you think you've seen a blue drop one night doesn't mean you're going to see it the other night. It doesn't seem to be very much order in this. It's very random. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We will be doing another video specifically about mutagel and mutagen, and look out for that one soon. I'll see you guys on the next one.